Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, so to speak. We are here today and tonight, I should say, and we're so excited to be here and say hello to Kevin Lee and be able to talk to him today. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, dear. Hi, Debbie and Andy. Great to see you guys.
Now we've had
Hey,
Kevin
Kevin.
on. We've had Kevin on before, and that was like one of our greatest shows ever. So he was so nice to come back. And this time we're going to talk about spirit communication. And so that's going to be really, really interesting. But first, I do want to say hi to Andy. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Debbie.
How are you doing?
This week has been challenging, and then some truths have been revealed today. So I think all of this, because I just found out that my job that I'm at, my employment ended on Friday. So in like 2 days. And then I was just really worried, so I've been applying and everything. Well, come to find out, the manager is talking to another one, and they can just move me into another department.
Wow.
The hours would be different, but
Mm-hmm.
this would give me time. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, 3 days notice was kind of like, oh, I was ready to pull my hair out. But that comes with temp jobs. So
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
You've been busy.
Right. But anyway, that is great because I know that you and I've talked that before. You really love that job. So you're going to manifest it and bring that in, and go back to that one. Yeah, you will. Good things are coming for everybody. It's there, you guys. Yes, I've been super busy, mostly with readings, and I have a little announcement for you, Andy. But I kind of starting a new venture. I'm going to start doing moon rituals with some people. But Lena just told me, Andy, that we just got the okay to investigate the 4-story, the theater, downtown San Diego, the 10th Avenue Art Center. And that is an Art Deco building that was built in 1910. And we're going to be doing ghost tours. And then guess what? Thank you, Jeff, is giving us the keys for 3 days. And we will be doing investigations and locking people down on Halloween. Just like last year. And it's such a great building. It's super haunted, you guys. And the way that they were doing the ghost tours is they wanted us to kind of memorize where the ghost was, where that person died and what the name of the ghost is and all this stuff. And I walked in and I said, oh, wait a minute. No, because there's full of ghosts here and we're going to go ahead and we're just going to, go see everything. And I'm going to tell you what I see. I had the best time doing those ghost tours that I sat down and did impromptu seances. We had a good time. People were falling off their chairs when they got information. It was really great. So we're going to be doing that, and we'll announce that for anybody who's in Southern California and San Diego.
Very fun.
It's going to be fun. It is. It's going to be great.
That is awesome.
That building is all original except for when you walk in the door, those original doors that were always unlocked 24/7. And when it was built, because it was a church. And the stipulation was they would never be locked. They were open for the military to come in. And, so they could come and pray. And so it has a lot of history. And the only thing they changed was downstairs, the bathroom. And everything else, you walk in, it's just like going in past the stained glass windows. It's creepy as all get out. And it's super haunted. And I told this story, you guys. You'd have to go way back and look at one of our shows. Whereas first thing I did when I went in is said, I got a hat man in the basement. And we did find him. Literally. It was amazing. But that's another time because we have lots of stuff we can get to and talk to. We've got you, Kevin. So we can't wait.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So good things are going on. And I'm just really know that good things are going to happen for all of us. It's great. Now, Kevin,
Yes.
you have the most interesting background ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we love you instantly when we met you, and you've been all around the world, and you've got all this education and this experience and the seances and everything.
Yeah, that's true.
And did you want to tell, since we have a new audience now, a little bit about you?
Sure. All right. Well, it's wonderful to be back with you guys, Andy and Debbie, and with all of your listeners and viewers. And I will tell you this, I have only been on this journey for probably 11 years because I stumbled upon my church, which was literally a tiny church in just south of Fort Lauderdale. Probably it was June of 2007. And I really didn't even know what the word metaphysics was. And once I began attending this church, eventually I found out that they evolved out of the religion of spiritualism, which you all probably know. And spiritualism is an American religion that began in the mid 1800s, and then it spread around the world like wildfire. And so now we have spiritualist churches and spiritualist organizations around the world, hundreds and hundreds of them. And I don't know how many followers there are, but there's quite a few. And within about a year, I learned about a college in England called the Arthur Findlay College. And that college was where that showed me how serious this stuff was, because I never really took it for granted. I never took it as something professional and legitimate. I just thought, well, it's all so airy-fairy, hippy-dippy. I don't know if all this stuff is real. And when I went to Arthur Findlay, I witnessed ministers, healers, psychics, and mediums who had devoted their life to the world of spirit and to serving people. And they did it in such a professional way that I was really shocked. And I realized, well, it stirred within me that this sense of professionalism about it, because I really wanted to believe it was real and legitimate. And I could see that these people were legitimizing it by their beliefs. And then from there, in all my studies and all the travels, and to go to different centers for different workshops and conferences, in the United States, Canada, Caribbean, Mexico, South America, over into Europe, I realized that there was much more to this world of metaphysics than just healing, intuition, and mediumship. And it's amazing, because in the last 11 years, everything has transformed incredibly. So now we talk about quantum energies, we talk about multiple dimensions, multiple universes, string theory, all types of fascinating theories and realities. And it's just been amazing. Spirit guided me to the right jobs. They gave me enough money so that I could go and travel the world to experience these things, and then bring those back to my community so that I could grow my church, my metaphysical church, which is called the Metaphysical Chapel of South Florida. And we went from a tiny little church in Dania Beach. We relocated into Fort Lauderdale, and we've begun to, in a small way, and I'll say it respectfully, we've kind of recreated the Arthur Findlay experience, in the sense we're a center of light that people come to from literally all over the world to learn about healing arts, psychic development, and mediumistic development, and also public speaking and becoming a minister and serving your community. And that's what I found the Arthur Findlay did for me, and I wanted to recreate that in South Florida. And so that's what I've done. That's what I wanted to give to my community, who couldn't afford to go on all these trips, and they couldn't afford to go to all these classes. And so I think that's just my gift to the world. Is my church, my chapel. And it has totally changed my life. 11 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be a minister. Never. I would have bet everything against it. And I've stepped into the role because I see it's a natural part of serving humanity. And I love it.
Oh, wow. That is compassion.
Wow.
That is such compassion. And the one thing that got me so much was 11 years. That's amazing to have such a transformation in all of those experiences and all those places you went. That's amazing.
I think you mentioned that I had attended seances. I've attended I have to say probably over 300. I haven't counted them all, but I would
Wow.
guesstimate about 300 seances, because that includes healing seances, even very basic psychic seances, and also basic and advanced mediumship seances, where we're trying to communicate with spirit in other dimensions and they with us. And easily, I would say easily 3 seances a month for 10 years really pushes the limits of over 300.
Wow.
You know?
Andy, we need to go there.
You
Yeah.
got to
Wouldn't it be so cool?
I would love it.
We need to visit.
We can go to the beach in the day, and then you guys can go to a seance at night.
Oh, that would be so great. When I grew up, and you know that I grew up in a spiritualist church, my family worked at the facility. And so I remember my first seance. I went in like everything's great, but I really got scared. I don't get scared anymore, but you know, it was just of the unknown.
I believe it.
And we did have a couple things happen. And one was this booming voice came out of this elderly woman, and it was a man's voice, like an Indian.
Uh-huh.
And that was a trip, because we're like, what? Like, she's what, 85? What is this? Yeah, so it was a little scary if you haven't been to it before. I know there's a lot of people out there that go, I don't know if I want to go, but it's so interesting. It really is.
It's life-changing, and that's what I love about all of it. I remind, we often say as spiritualists, it's not about the entertainment factor, but it's about it is about the professionalism especially, but it's about the evidence of life after death, in that communication from the higher realms that comes through in such a way, this elegant philosophy that it reminds me as though I'm mentally tippy-toeing to grasp the words, make the sentences in my mind, and then process what I'm hearing. And that's when you know it's of the highest vibration.
Right.
That's a good one.
It's so wonderful too to actually there's nothing better really when you have someone that's grieving and you can tell them something that's validated, something that they could only know, and then tell them that their loved one is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's healing. And I tell everyone, everything we do, whether we're healers, psychics, whether we are ministers or mediums, at the core of everything we do is healing. And our messages are healing. The evidence is healing. The phenomena can be healing. The work, the energy can be healing. Even the spoken word on a Sunday morning can be healing and transforming. It's all healing, which is the vibration of love.
Isn't that true though? Because really, even the kind words, when people are having a really hard day, and they get a kind word. I do hear myself, Andy, a little bit.
Oh.
Everybody's got earbuds in, right? It's not that bad though.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
I'll
be okay. All right. Kevin, we have some of the frequently asked questions for you that I think that everybody will want to know, kind of give an idea of how this all flows about spirit communication. So, okay, if you don't mind answering some questions. And also anybody in the audience and the viewers, if you have a question for Kevin, Andy can see it and post it. Okay. But Kevin, okay, this is like really basic. Is spirit communication a real thing? Okay,
well, we wouldn't be having this video if it wasn't. But, well, actually, we could talk about the opposite. But anyway, I will say absolutely it is. And let me say why. Because coming into this, even myself, just 11 years ago, I was a skeptic. And to a degree, I'm a healthy skeptic even today. But for the average person coming in, they do find it hard to believe that there can be active communication from one dimension to another. But let me say this. This phenomena of spirit communication has been going back thousands of years. I don't know how many, probably tens of thousands. And in recorded record through different religious texts from different parts of the world, we know that it's been taking place because there are scriptures written about it in all of the holy books. the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, all these different books, even the Book of Mormon. And so what we have is we have these prophets of old who received spirit communication through divine revelation, right? So that would be through almost a trance state, an altered state of mind. That it could have been through claircognizance, where they just simply knew the information that was being directed to them by spirit. And in these different Holy Scriptures, they talk about how that information comes through divine revelation. Okay, so today we call that trans-channeling. Okay, and the old word that they used in a lot of the scriptures was prophet. And what is the new word that we use today? Medium, right? So when we think about that, the prophets were listening to spirit speaking and bringing forward phenomena, physical phenomena many times, and they were guiding them. So these prophets, these mediums, were sharing higher truth from spirit to the people in their cultures. And it's been recorded in every single world religion. So that's how I would say, if you want to look at it evidentially and look at it from an academic standpoint or scientific standpoint, you look at the Holy Scriptures of all religions. Why are they saying and doing the same thing? Because it was happening. And even we know the scientists of today have proven over the last 200 years, they've been proving spirit communication takes place. Our spiritualist mediums, our metaphysical mediums, even our spiritist mediums, those who follow the teachings of Allan Kardec, they all demonstrate the evidence of spirit communication every single day, probably every single hour of the week, because in different places of the world, you have all of these individuals. So I would say, yes, absolutely it is. Wow.
Well, I agree too. We totally are doing that all the time. So we know it's real. Now you use the word medium, but not psychic. So what's the difference with that?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. So I specifically chose my word medium for the old word prophet, because medium implies someone who is the intermediary, the middleman, the middlewoman, the instrument between two minds. And so let me start this away. Psychics connect energetically with individuals, with things, with locations. Say, for instance, the building in San Diego that you're going to be in, there will be so much psychic energy in that building from the last 50 to 75 years it's been around. And so there are soul emanations or psychic emanations emanating from the building that it's absorbed them, okay? All of the good emotions, bad emotions, heartbreaks, and whatnot, achievements. So psychics connect soul to soul, and mediums will connect mind to mind. So it's the medium's mind to the spirit's mind, and that's what we call telepathic communication, mind to mind communication. So another thing to think about is not all psychics are mediums, because they need to have not only training or the natural ability of developing into a medium, but all mediums by definition must be psychic. So when you're out there looking for someone who can help you with spirit communication so that you can contact your loved ones, try to find one that uses the terminology medium, identifies themselves as a medium, a spiritual medium, and not a pure psychic, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you know, I'm laughing to myself a little bit, because for some reason, as you're talking, I'm hearing your words before you say them. And I'm like, whoa, okay, there we go. I'm psychic medium. We kind of said it. Can anybody be a medium?
Well, let me say this. Absolutely everyone has the potential of being a medium, but think of it this way. Most people are so busy and their lives are so distracted by Facebook, Instagram, the latest movies, their hobbies, life in general, family dramas, work dramas, whatnot. Everyone can develop, but few will, because it takes so much time and so much dedication. That's the one thing that you'll find on this path. It's not something that you can just go take a weekend course and develop.
Right.
Although, yes, you can unfold to a degree and begin the process of awakening. over the course of 1 or 2 or 3 classes. It's more a trust of what's already within inside you. And I will say that I love to share this example with my students. And I say it like this: everyone can play a piano, okay, as long as you have fingers, or as long as you have an instrument on the body to press the keys, you can play a piano. But there's a potential within the individual. Maybe that person was born as a child prodigy, so they have tremendous potential that comes from previous lives. And the next child could be born and trained to an expert level of piano playing. The next child could develop to a fairly good level of development to play the piano. And then maybe even another child has a disability that prevents them from playing because of the incapacity of the mental state. So everyone has potential. Will they develop it? Not everyone, very few will. Some people have more potentials than the other. And that's why it seems like some people just, when they grab a deck of tarot cards, they just naturally fall into the rhythm. And other people struggle for a year or two to get into that rhythm. And some people just have more potential than the next. That's what we have to think about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You did hit on one thing that's kind of, for me, I just kind of wince, is that right now there's so many people going to classes, and they're actually like taking one class and getting a certificate, and then they get to hang it on the wall.
Yes, that's very unprofessional, very highly unethical, and highly selfish. Let me say that. Let me say it so they don't come after you for saying it. But that's really true. I talk about that because there have been conferences when I went to teach the principles of ethics and professionalism. I was asked not to teach it at the conference, and because I wouldn't change my topic to teach basic mediumship, I was removed from the conference. And because they felt it wasn't what people needed to hear or wanted to hear, and I thought that was very inappropriate. And that, I will say, is another thing I learned at the Arthur Findlay College, is the ethics, the professionalism, and the morality of the work of being a psychic, a healer, a medium, even just a servant of people. You cannot just go and take a weekend class and then hang a shingle that you're an internationally recognized medium or healer or psychic. Because I was on this show called Psychic Fixes for one episode, that doesn't, just because it goes globally, doesn't make you an international medium. But people are very driven to compete and label themselves in such a way that it gives them the recognition, honestly, they haven't earned. And I think people need to be I'm very honest with my students. I will call them out, and even publicly, if I catch them being inappropriate with their titles, because they've learned in my classes that that's not acceptable.
Oh, I so agree with you. I really do, because I see it all the time where people are, especially calling themselves international, readers or psychics or whatever. And I do read for people all over the world. I can prove that. And I've been doing it for 5 years. And so, it's really hard when so many times here in Southern California, I'm seeing these one-day classes or, instant mediumship.
Let me say this to your listeners and your viewers, because I think this is important. When we are serving, being the ministering, the medium or the healer, the psychic that's serving the public, whether privately or publicly, that 5 or even 10 seconds of a message can do 5 years of therapeutic damage, where they will need a therapist, or they could lose financial wealth. They could be redirected to a job that is not right for them because you have so called yourself an international healer, psychic, medium, and truly you have the potential to change people's lives so dramatically, it could be considered in a court of law injurious. And that's something that I teach my students about, the legalities of the work also. And so you have to be very careful when you work with the people in the public setting. You have to be connected to spirit, or you have to be connected to the energy psychically, strongly. You cannot misrepresent things just because you have a hunch, or just because you need to be certain. And your words, unfortunately, with all the recording technology, it can be used against you really easily. So I always tell my students, be so careful how you say things. You can bring a negative message to an audience member, but you better wrap it in a ribbon of love and leave them feeling uplifted. Don't leave them hopeless, or they could potentially go, and if they require therapeutic counseling, technically in a court of law, I can't think of the word, but because they require therapy, it could become considered injurious.
Mm-hmm. I know when I teach, I really am watching to make sure there's validation, because that's the biggest thing I'm about is validation. We want to make sure that we are getting the messages from spirit to the people. And so, we're checking on that all the time. So thank you for for answering and continuing with my question, because I think that's really important. Now, we talked about mediumship. So, how can you teach someone, or how do people become a medium?
Well, there are so many organizations around the world. There's can't think of all their names off the top of my head, but there are spiritualist organizations, metaphysical organizations, spiritist organizations. There are different centers in the United States, probably some that people know, the Omega Center or Kripalu, and these are in the New England area. There's also the United Metaphysical Churches, which I evolved out of. I went to that seminary program where we certify and train for 3 years just to become a certified medium. And there's also a program at the United Metaphysical Churches for about 1.5 years of development work on campus and also at local churches to become a spiritual healer. So it's about 1.5 year process to become certified. And also to become an ordained minister, it's a 4-year process. So that organization is quite involved, and they ordain, they license, they certify, and they are very serious about the work. And that's what I like about my organization, the United Metaphysical Churches. Now, I will also say there is a center that I love to give props to, because they took all of my bad habits and they cleaned them up, and that's called the Inner Spiritual Center. And that's in Fairfield, New Jersey. And the founders, Bill Collar and Sharon Subas, do a fabulous job working with individuals who want to unfold their mediumistic abilities. They have a 2-year, I think they might even call it an international training program, because you work with students in Europe, in different places, remotely through the internet. And we do that during the class weekends, and we do that during events. So you get that experience of international exposure and working with different audiences. That was interesting. But it was they broke me down to the basics and made me start from the beginning. And it was a 2-year process. I had to fly up there 5 times per year for 2 years. And that was about every 2 or 3 months I was back in New Jersey. And I have taken a lot of mediumship programs. And I have to say, it probably is the best program I've ever taken. It was worth the money, the sacrifice. And it literally made me a much higher quality stage medium, a platform medium. And it made me a professional. I really feel like it did.
Mm-hmm. Well, so it's really great to get into a really reputable place and really learn and be educated towards this then. So that's good to know.
And there's good books there too. And Debbie, you may have the book. I don't have it on my library shelf, but it's called So You Want to Be a Medium.
Oh.
Right? It's a classic. I believe it's a green book. I always tell my students to buy that book. There's also a lady who has created a beautiful book. It's a workbook series, a very thick workbook, and her name is Sharon Klingler. She's out of Lilydale. And her book is so in-depth with so many exercises, CDs, workbook pages. That is a wonderful study-at-home program that I highly recommend people also. It's not cheap, but you get what you pay for. Wonderful.
Do you know the name of that?
Yes, I do. Let's see. I have it right here. Yes. See, I must be psychic. I knew where it was. Okay. Advanced Spirit Communication and Public Mediumship by Sharon Klingler. And it looks like this. See if we can get that up to the camera.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Good.
I'll put a link to that,
Wonderful.
to these two books, when we upload this. That's great. But I think what people also want to know something like, what's it like when spirit speaks to a medium?
That's a very good question, because a lot of times most people think that spirit either stands, that we see them as physical beings standing next to their loved ones in the audience, or standing next to my client in the chair if it's a private reading. And it can happen that way. But for me, let me start off with me. From my perspective, it reminds me of a memory. If I think of my grandmother who's gone to spirit, I can see her on that porch in Texas. I can smell her cooking in the house because I remember how the house smelled. That old cedar wood and the damp earth around it in her garden. I can smell the tree in the front. I can hear her calling me, that like a memory. And that's exactly what it feels like for me and most people when they work with spirit. Spirit, let me explain it this way. Spirit stimulates our mind, our imagination, our memories, and stirs them up. Spirit told me one time in a seance, it's like this. They stick their etheric finger into your mind, and they touch the neuron that has the memory they need to stimulate to get you to think about it. And that's how they bring those memories up. And that was probably symbolic, but that was the best way they could explain it. And so let's do this real quick, because this is a fun exercise. You guys, Andy and Debbie, you can do it with us, but especially your listeners. Just close your eyes and think of, I want you to visualize one thing for me real quick. Okay, here we go. A red apple. Imagine what it looks like. Imagine that glossy, waxy coating around it. And notice the little specks, the little pores where air goes in and out, or water goes in and out of that fruit on the skin. Okay, now let's do this. I want you to think about, I want you to begin to sense, okay, say for instance, a loved one in spirit calling your name. Like I said, my grandmother calling my name from her porch. Think of that. Okay, now what you all experienced was very faint and very wispy. It's almost like your imagination was stirred. I got you to think about a red apple. I got you to think about a loved one who called your name a long time ago. And that's exactly how hard it is for us as mediums to grab that image and to grab that sound. It literally is so fleeting. If you don't grab it quick, it's almost gone. Now, we can hold on to these memories pretty quick, but when you work as a medium, a lot of times the information flows in and it's gone within a matter of seconds. And it's hard to get back to it. And so that's what it's like for us when we work on a platform or when we work with clients. The information comes and then it goes. So have I seen spirit? Yes, but it's more of like a ghostly apparition. I can sense where they're at. Their gender, I can sense relationships, I can sense their personality style, I can sense almost like I hear, occasionally I will begin to hear, what do we call them? Jingles, like television, radio show jingles, Jeopardy, The Wheel of Fortune, I Love Lucy. Well, why are they doing that? Because maybe their name was Lucy. Maybe Jeopardy was the show that they identified with. It drove everybody in the family crazy. They hated it. But this loved one who passed to spirit loved that show. And that's all they did was sit and watch Jeopardy all the time. And they were known as a Jeopardy fan or whatever. And those are the kind of points of evidence that I've given from a platform, because those jingles have come into my mind. I don't hear it physically outside my head, but it's as though suddenly it's a memory. It's like a memory I can't get rid of. It suddenly bubbles up. And I have to acknowledge it, and then it's gone. It's ethereal. It just kind of floats away. And once I vocalize it, I can release it. It releases me because I don't really control it. So I would tell your listeners, when information comes, whether it's visual, clairvoyance, whether it's me feeling the loved one's gender or their personality, that would be clairsentience. If I hear a jingle or I hear a name being called, that would be my clairaudience, my clear listening, my psychic ear. And then we also have a couple of others where we can psychically taste or smell things, and that will come through from time to time. You can taste the cooking or the gingerbread men that they cooked, or you can smell the perfume or the cigarettes or even the specific type of pipe tobacco, cherry flavored walnut or something weird like that. You can smell those flavors and they're gone. It's uncanny.
I gotta laugh. It's so funny because, well, I can really hear myself now, Andy.
Yeah, I can hear you too. Kevin, it might be on your end.
Okay. I know that all I have turned on is the video camera. Everything else is muted.
Okay. Well, I think it's okay now. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Kevin, I was like, first I put my hand over like this because I do my readings anywhere from a few minutes to a couple hours. And within 24 hours, I have amnesia.
Yep.
It is gone. And I feel really bad when the people come back again and they say, you remember? And I'm like, no, nothing.
You have a better memory
at all.
Because I can't remember that long.
And funny that you mentioned that tobacco, because my brother-in-law passed. And when you were talking about the smoke smell, and I get it once in a while. My mom was a cigarette smoker, so I get that. But there is that cherry tobacco, whatever it is. That was what my brother-in-law always smoked in the pipe. And you just you nailed it. I was like, oh my gosh, that was like, I know it was.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was really neat. I was just like, wow.
And so basically I'll say, do I see spirit people? No. I have occasionally, once in a great while, on a very special occasion, I will see what looks like the way Hollywood shows these ethereal spirit people in rooms and things. I will see that once in a great while, but it's usually a very special occasion. It's someone's celebration of like a birthday and anniversary of somebody that I was very, very closely tied with. But other than that, no, I just get a sense of a presence. It's more energetic. And also they somehow get my attention psychically. I can feel them. So that's how I know they're around.
Well, this is the thing. And I tell everyone there's such a variety where different people can see things and get messages in different ways. Absolutely. Now, I see photograph, which is black and white or in color. And then I also see movies going. But especially if I'm doing a past life, but then they can talk to me. People can talk to me. But if I just sit and I let it come in, the person forms. And then I can describe that person to my client or whatever. So we're going to go ahead do we have a sponsor, Andy?
We do.
We got to do that.
Our sponsor tonight is the Checkered Lily Apothecary. And there we go. And it's by Kimberly Beauchou.
Thank you, Kim.
Hi. So she's got a whole line of different makeups and a Halloween line like seance, and what else does she have, Debbie?
Automatic writing.
Yeah.
The eyeshadow. Some really good ones.
Fine.
Yeah. So
we want to thank Kim for being our sponsor consistently. We love that. And providing such wonderful products for our viewers. All right. Andy, do you have a list of the questions?
Kevin, I just muted you because I think it's coming through your speaker. Debbie's, yeah.
My voice.
Yeah, your voice. And then I'll unmute you. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, Andy, you could ask him the questions so that I wouldn't be hearing myself.
Gotcha. Okay.
We have a list of the frequently asked questions, and we're at number 7.
Okay.
So, do spirit
Okay.
people wait? That's a good one for you to tell everybody. Okay, so go ahead and turn them on, and I'll be quiet.
Okay, Kat.
Yeah, I'm ready. All right. So, it's funny because that is a very common question that people ask at different events, like afterlife forums and things that I do at libraries. And, I'm a little cheesy, and I like to be a comedian. Spirit people, they don't have eyes. They don't see us with their eyeballs because they don't have eyeballs anymore. Spirit, they recognize our awareness. They recognize what we're thinking. They recognize the state of our being, of our where we're at emotionally, from their mind to our mind, or our psychic energies. So our bodies create these fields of energy that goes out into the world of spirit, and they're aware of that we're in a private moment, or we're having a difficult moment, or a scared moment, or a loving moment, or just an everyday laissez-faire kind of moment. And so they're aware of what we're up to, if you will. And so many people say, but can they still see us? When we go to the bathroom, when we are with our significant other for the evening in a private way, or in whatever condition that's private. They can become aware of what's going on. But remember, when we drop the human body, our consciousness rises to a higher vibration. We're no longer attached to the labels and the emotions, if you will, of those private moments, right? Of having sex or being in the restroom. Those are human conditions and human labels we've placed on situations. Spirit could care less. So don't be worried that they're looking in on you, because that's not it. Even if they were to be present during those moments, they simply would not have the emotional attachment to it we would. So it doesn't affect them at all. And it's just not the same to them anymore. They've let go of this human state of worry and embarrassment and all that. So they look at things, they look at our lives from a much higher perspective, and they've got better things to do with their own lives. The spirit is not worried about your regularity, so they're not checking up on you. Okay? That's the truth.
All right. So I want to take one question from the audience.
Oh, good.
And we do have a few of them, actually. So we might run off script.
Go for it.
Okay. Sorry, I've got to scroll down here.
No worries.
Okay. This was a good one from Amanda. What is the coolest thing you have learned in your research and travels?
Oh, wow. That's a huge question. You could do a whole show on that. Let's say this. Two of the most amazing things it's even hard to limit to two things. I'll say this. I have witnessed an apport, which is an object from the spirit world of life. I have witnessed an object apporting into the seance room that was a red light condition. I could see everything in the room. All the other sitters could see it. And spirit brought it through on a quantum light beam out of the medium's hand on command, and it appeared on the floor in front of all of us. That was shocking. I have also witnessed in red light condition, and that was about 3 years ago. The founder of my church system, Reverend F. Reed Brown, is a precipitation medium. In other words, he can produce spirit writing, spirit images on cards or canvas or cloth, and it's done through spirit control. So spirit produces all the writing and the images 100%. No human hands produces this. And it's done through these mediumistic faculties. I witnessed images appear on little 3x5 index cards as the light was very slowly raised by a rheostat, a dimmer switch. And as the light came up very slowly, the images phased into our dimension and precipitated in front of all of our eyes onto the cards. That was spectacular. And what else? Oh, I was just talking about it earlier today. I witnessed the medium Kai Muga, who is a German physical medium, a spectacular medium. I witnessed his spirit guide extract his human life force out of the body in ectoplasmic form in a huge cloud on the floor. It was a concrete floor. And that cloud of ectoplasm breathed. It breathed like a living thing. And then all of a sudden a hand came out of the cloud from the direction of the concrete floor, no one around it. And that hand even had a signet ring, which was the signet ring of the spirit control speaking through the medium while all of this is happening. That was spectacular. So those are amazing things I've ever witnessed.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got another good question from Champagne.
Okay.
I have a couple questions, if possible, after. How can you know when the spirits who come to be channeled are good spirits and not a bad one? And her other question is, can mediumship be hereditary, passed down from family member? Thank you.
Okay, let's go with the second one, hereditary. It's absolutely hereditary, but it goes deeper than that. It's a spiritual, what is the word? I don't want to say spiritual contract, but there is group karma or family karma, if you will. You come from those individuals who pass it down from, say, grandmother to granddaughter to great-granddaughter and so forth. They have experienced this in other lives. And that is why it tends to run in families, because the family unit karmically wants to experience intuitive abilities, psychic abilities, mediumship abilities, healing abilities, channeling abilities, whatever it may be. So you will tend to see psychic phenomena happening within family structures on Earth, but it's because of spiritual principles and even past life karma. Okay, so they've earned it. Now, the first question was, how do we know the spirits that come to and communicate to us? Are they lying to us and saying that they're a sheep when they're actually a wolf in sheep's clothing, if you will? And so what I would say is this. In the Bible, because I've studied it a lot, in the Bible, Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits, okay? And so when we look at it from that perspective, and from all the seances that I've been in, when spirits come in and speak, even those that are not invited, but somehow they've made their way energetically into the room, they will speak through the medium, or they will speak through thin air, or they will speak through instruments, objects, tools, and or they may write or draw. You will know them by their fruits. Are the words, are the vibrations of their thoughts of such a vibration or frequency that it leaves you up inspired? And do you feel, wow, I feel like these are they feel so friendly and they're supportive and they're giving me, it feels like really good advice and it seems very helpful. And there's your answer. That's very positive fruit. If these spirits leave you second guessing yourself in a very negative way, doubting yourself in a very harsh way, if you feel a little told off, well, there's your answer. If you feel that you're a little scared or creeped out, something doesn't feel right, there's your answer. It tells you what kind of fruit is coming through. And so you will know them by their fruits. How does the communication, how does the phenomena, how does the experience energetically, psychically feel? And if it doesn't feel right and in your gut something's wrong, then that tells you need to shut down the communication. They are not for you. Bless them on their way and ask them never to come back to speak to you or to be involved with you or your group. You need to go ahead and disinvite them. And that's the best advice I can give you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to check and see if you can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not hearing the feedback, but I'm hearing it for you, Andy. That's so weird. Kevin, couple more little questions for you. Do spirit people really send us signs, or is that just in the Hollywood movies?
Okay, absolutely. You know, Hollywood has played up on it. Think about this. Hollywood does play up on all these signs and these objects and these coincidences. Why do they do that? Right? They do it because there's actually a lot of fact. There's evidence to it. Um, a lot of people are experiencing these phenomena, if you will. And so I will tell you this: there have been so many people that have walked through my doors, my church, talked to me privately, talked to me publicly. I've been in seances. I've been out in the public where I literally was just at a conference where Spirit sent a sign to my best friend in the middle of a Tony Robbins dance-a-thon where you're fist bumping and 3,000 people are screaming. And I'm not kidding. A gold apport, it was a fake gold, but it was a gold coin, appeared on the floor below my friend's feet. He was jumping up and down, and I had been staring at the floor the whole time. That coin came through, and that coin was from the Stanley Hotel that he had just been at the month before. And also his spirit guide had been acknowledging for 2 months that he has a connection to that hotel. And so isn't it interesting that they brought this sign as a gift from them to the recipient, my friend, that it was just a little gift of support that we want to acknowledge you. And when we asked the next week in seance, did you do this? And they said, well, it was really easy because all of that psychokinetic stirred up energy allowed them to literally physically apport an object into the conference room. And Tony Robbins has no clue the spirit phenomena took place in his conference room. That's what's so crazy, right next to us. And so there are times when I've done funerals, and a few days later, and even at one funeral it happened. I'll tell you this one funeral story. There was a lady who loved blue butterflies. Blue butterflies, I can't remember the name. They might be called sulfurs, but they're really tiny, okay? And they love clay because it's full of salt and potassium and all this stuff. Anyway, these little tiny blue butterflies that are common here in the United States, in the southern part of the United States, they came like what we call a kaleidoscope, a flock of these little blue butterflies hovered while I spoke at the gravesite, around the casket, around the people, and the family knew that this lady who had passed, she loved those little blue butterflies. You never see them. I haven't seen one in years, but yet her spirit, and this is something to remember, that lady who died, quote unquote, she's not in the butterflies. She's not, her spirit is not inside them, but her spirit mind has influenced those butterflies to actually come and be present to get you to think of her. And so she wants you to know, I'm here. Look what I sent you as a gift, as a sign. And that's what Spirit says all the time. They'll send you dimes and pennies and quarters, even dollar bills. They'll send you crystals. I have one friend in Roanoke, her former partner literally apports almost on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times, all kinds of hearts into her house. She has now put a goblet on her table, and I'm not joking. They literally, within hours of it being emptied, another one has appeared. Spirit has apported stained glass windows into her home that have hearts in it. Bizarre stuff like that. I've heard of so many things. Spirit will guide insects and animals to your windows, to your car, to your presence, during ceremony, during funerals, during special occasions, their birth date, their death date, anniversaries, memorial days. And why is it that your sister who loved the red cardinal, all of a sudden, why is it that such a skittish bird, there's multiple of them around you, and it's her special day. It's your day to celebrate her. It's because she's guided those animals, her mind to their mind, to come and be in your presence so that you know she's alive. That is she here? Well, of course she's there because she guided those beings to come be around you. So Spirit can send all kinds of signs.
When you said the part about being guided, that they're being guided, I was guided because I was going to be lost once. And I told the other side, I said, you guys, you're literally going to give me signs to get me out of here. And you know where I need to go. The first sign was Duncan.
I love
My
it.
last name. The second street I got to was Libra. I'm a Libra.
Oh my gosh.
And I kept driving until I found Capricorn, and my two exes were Capricorns. So I got off the road and turned right. It took me right to the road I asked him to find. So I took pictures of that. We've talked about it on here because that was literal signs.
That's beautiful. And that's important because so many people forget that spirit those are people. They're still people. They're souls. And and it's not that we sit here and wait for them to inspire us. We can talk to them and ask them to do things for us and help us. And they want us to. That's why they're called spirit guides. They want to guide you and help. So a lot of people forget to include them in life.
Oh, I'm all about that.
And Kevin, I was going to mention, and Debbie, I had something similar to that. And it was after a seance.
Wow. Here
locally. And I had found out that I would say a temporary spirit guide come through and was supposed to help me in my development and all that. And it came through the lead medium that was hosting the whole thing. And the name was Father Francis O'Malley.
Wow.
And I Googled him afterwards, and he's real. He's legit. So I did the history on that. On my way home, I took a different way home. I decided, I'm going to go this way. As I was turning right on a side street I would never go normally, the road sign was O'Malley.
Oh, brilliant.
And I was like, okay, that just a nail in the coffin there.
That's amazing. Well, lately, Kevin, I've had two people that I know have people pass in their family, and I've heard it separately that they got birds in their house. Like a bird would fly in their house. And then I heard it from another friend. A bird came in and they just thought that was the strangest thing. But I really feel like that was the family member guiding that bird in there to give them a message.
What's crazy, I've heard people say that their homes, they never open the windows and doors except to go in and out of the door. And they've been home all day. And all of a sudden a butterfly, it's a day of anniversary or a passing date, or they were thinking of this person in spirit all day, and a butterfly that somehow symbolizes that person will literally fly through the living room and then disappear down the hallway. And it was a physical, real butterfly, but it literally was brought in and then taken out of the house. Crazy.
Kevin, I have a question for you. In the spiritualist church, and we have to go back a long time, people, for this one. We're going lots of years, lots of decades. They actually had like a horn, a musical instrument that stuff would fall out of.
Oh, yes.
What's that about?
I have them in my seance room, not in this room. Those are called spiritual trumpets. And you know what's amazing is there are examples in the Bible where the prophets of old and the mediums, the oracles and whatnot. There's one. It looks like a megaphone, doesn't it, Andy? And that's exactly what it does. It amplifies the spirit voices. That small end at the top is where spirit will wrap the human life force, the ectoplasmic force, or that material substance extracted out of the medium, and they will create a voice box in that end. And that is where they replicate a copy of the medium's vocal cords and larynx inside that instrument, and then voices will come out, the voice or the sound will come out the larger end to those in the room. Objects can also appear through that trumpet, and it's only because they've filled it with ectoplasm and they can transport objects through it. So I've been in seances where objects, literally huge objects, you could hear them falling from the skinny end all the way down to the big end where my hand is held open, and that object could not come through the skinny end. It was bigger than the big end. It was bigger than the small end at the top there. Where the heck did it come from? It came from spirit. It came from another dimension. They may have taken it off of Earth into spirit to bring it into our location, which is what they typically do. But it is possible for objects to begin in the spirit world and enter the third dimension. They've talked about that as well. So I love those spirit trumpets.
We had a lot of stuff that happened, like the spirit photography, where they take a picture, and I think they put it in the Bible, and then you go back later, and there was people in it.
Yes.
And they come and they go, and that was like, that was crazy.
That's called, most likely, if it's a film, that's called scatography. And there's a lot of books written about scatography or spirit photography. And that is, let me mention this, if people are interested in strange things of religion, where all this mystical phenomena, I have begun to watch the most fascinating and strange documentary called Finger of God. And this gentleman, I'm going to track him down one day, but he has gone to so many different Christian churches, and they're a little crazy. They seem a little out there, but they're producing manna from the Bible. Manna is falling out of the Bible. Gemstones and oil are coming out of Bibles. Gold substance, which I think is not gold, but it looks like gold, because there was a lady, very famous lady from Florida called the Gold Leaf Lady. Well, when they peel, it would literally materialize all over her body. They peeled it off and found it was actually brass, but it looks like gold. And in that documentary, there are people go to these, I don't know even know what they are, but they're basically ministers or who are highly prophetic. And spirit is replacing bad and broken teeth with gold teeth. And they're even getting gold dust on their clothing and on their skin. It's fascinating. And we, they think we're crazy. Well, they're having the same phenomena we're having in all of our churches and our spiritual circles. So Finger of God, go look that up. I don't know where it is, but I just sent a copy of it.
I'm laughing because I was thinking about that. And before you said the teeth, I'm going, well, we have manifesting fillings and they are gold. And I'm thinking in my head while you're talking, is it brass in their teeth or is it gold in your teeth? And then you said it.
Well, we're connected. I love it. We should do a show.
We're on. I'm just laughing because it's just like almost too much. It's just so great. I know I could talk about this stuff forever because, I've seen so many things and so have you. And I totally want to know one thing though. When the thing falls off and it materializes, does it disappear someday and go back, or do we get to keep it forever?
When what falls off?
Anything that materializes or comes out of that horn or anything.
It depends. I have friends who received apports, as we call them, object that came from one location into spirit, into our seance room or into our presence. Those objects can either be destroyed by sunlight. If you take them into sunlight immediately after a seance, they will begin to either break down or they will disappear. You'll never find them. Sometimes they will stay with you for a period of days or hours or weeks or years, and suddenly they're gone. When you've had them locked away and no one else lives in your home or no one knows where it's at, suddenly it's gone. How is it gone? Because there was something energetically that was transferred from the object to you that you received, that you needed, and it served its purpose. And because its value to spirit was more important to be used elsewhere, they removed it from your presence, and it will now be given to someone else, most likely. So I've heard it's being sent.
I swear that spirit takes things. And I know a lot of people do this because they believe in this, because I say, where did that go? And so I'm always talking to spirit and say, are you finished with it? Can you bring it back?
Yep.
But what's your take on that? Because I'm going like, seriously, where is this thing? It's not here.
I'll tell you one thing to keep all the listeners from being disturbed about that, because I have some incredible sacred objects that I would be heartbroken if they disappeared, if spirit took them back. But we have to look at it from a higher perspective. We received those sacred objects for a reason. We received the energies, we received the message, whatever it was. We were blessed by their presence. But if spirit deems it necessary to remove them and then to give them to someone else, maybe it totally transforms someone else's life, as opposed to sitting in my drawer locked away for 40 years not being used. If it can be used to transform someone else, wouldn't we want it to go somewhere where it will change someone's life? And so when I have objects that either, I hate to say it, I've actually broken a couple of my sacred objects by dropping them because I was meditating with them and I forgot they were in my lap. But these objects, we just have to bless them if they disappear and know that it's gone for a higher purpose for someone else. That's really the best way to look at it.
Well, what I was meaning is I feel like they take sometimes everyday things. And I've read a lot of stories about people leaving their camera at home and it materializes on the bed in Europe. So, but there's a lot of times I'm going, well, I know that that pin was right there. And I say, I need that. Can you bring it back when you can? And then later on I'll go and guess what? There it is.
I think they play with us, and they still
they do.
They have personality, and they either love to mess with us, or they're really just cheeky by nature, and so they may be a little frustrating spirit or a trickster spirit that you've attracted.
Yeah. Andy's got one.
Yeah, because I've looked for either car keys or something. I swear I saw them. Turn my head for a second, went outside, come back in. It's nowhere to be found. Go upstairs, come back. There it is.
They'll do it.
Okay, am I awake?
They'll do it. They'll do it.
Well, we are running out of time and we're having so much fun. There was one last question, though, if you have a little bit of time.
Sure.
What can our listeners do to protect themselves from negative souls and energies?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the best things that I say to the people that come to my church looking for help, because I live in South Florida, so we get a lot of African, Caribbean religions and belief systems, things from South America. We get a blending of all types of things, religions. And so many people feel that they're troubled by negative spirits, dark energies, dark religions, let's just call them. And one of the best things you can, let me say this, burning a sage stick, I would say lighting candles, shaking a chicken, throwing salt, that stuff does not work because the power is not in the tool. Do I use sage at home? Yes, I use sage all the time because sage is used to clear and clean the space. But the intention or the power comes from us, the individual, from our mind. So say, for instance, I have a negative presence around me that's affecting my life in a malicious way. What I need to do is I need to begin to get right with God. And I don't say that in a very Christian way. I say that we need to be connected to the divine source of all that is. And if we don't have a relationship with a living universe, a loving universe, right there is one of the biggest, you've opened a big wide door into things that are negative and not supportive of the light of God. So you really need to find a way to enrich your life with a relationship with Creator as however you see it. If you call God a woman, a man, if you call God an all-pervasive force, however you visualize God, find a relationship that strengthens your mind because that mind principle is very powerful. And then find a place of worship. If you're Christian, go be a Christian. If you're Catholic, go be a Catholic. If you're Muslim, go be a Muslim. Find a religion that you resonate to and devote yourself 100% to it. Because without that devotion of even, you don't even have to be so orthodox religion, just as long as you're devoted to your learning your holy books, filling yourself with spiritual channel teachings, scriptures, beautiful poetry that's religious or spiritual by nature, you are changing your vibration to a higher vibration. There's more light of God, more presence inside you, and that will ward off most everything negative and disruptive in your life. You need to be meditating every day. You need to be prayerful at different times in the day. We need to pray from the vibration of gratitude. I think we forget about gratitude, and we're always begging this God. I don't view God as a man or a woman. I consider God an all-pervasive force that we all exist inside of. The universe is the expression of God, and we're part of that universe. So we're a necessary ingredient to make this universe work. That's why we're in human form. So I recognize that I call on a higher power. I call upon archangels or the angels, or even my protector team, my spirit team. And I also begin to be charitable because it's not about just me. If I will go and be kind to my neighbors and do unto others and serve people who need food or money or my support in some way, I'm being charitable. I'm raising my vibration. If you don't have those elements in your life, honestly, you're asking for trouble, because you're leaving the door wide open for things to come and affect you. And the more you do that is spiritual or even religious, you will push all that back because your light grows so strong. And so it has to do with you, not the tools, not the sage, not the crystals, not your seance room. It has everything to do with you and your mindset. And it doesn't even have to do with your body. It's your mind. So it's all about, what are you doing to enrich your mind, your consciousness, and fill it with that, what I call light of God, or the light of truth, and scripture, and beautiful channel teachings, and spiritual knowledge. And, that's what you need to be doing.
Oh, wow. When you
Amazing.
talk about intention, when I work with the energy and everything, I always tell everybody intention is everything.
Yes, it is.
What your intention is that's the power. There we go.
That's what Spirit says all the time. If you feel drawn to develop as a healer, and then it will manifest. The doors will open, the opportunities, the teachers will appear when you're ready. It's all through intention. It's all of that.
Wow. I want to thank you so much, Kevin, for being here. This is just the best time, isn't it, Andy? I love it.
I seriously have probably so many questions, but one thing I do want to do is I want to take your courses. Okay. And if you offer anything like that, you do, don't you, Kevin?
I have one course that's about to go live, which is actually precipitation mediumship, teaching people how to unfold their precipitation ability. And I'm also finishing this week. We actually have a gentleman who's a medium. Actually, he's a prophetic medium, and he produces music and words, lyrics. He's channeling my music from my 2 albums, my meditation albums.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Albums done, hopefully within the next 60 days. So those will be available.
We totally want to make sure that we can help get that word out when you have courses or albums. So give us the information and we will post it. We'll talk about it on the show. And hopefully at some point you'll come back on again and tell us all about what you've created.
I'd love to, and I'll make sure that I give your listeners a discount that the general public doesn't have.
Ooh,
so that'll
that's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely, and that's just so that it benefits your listeners, your audience, and we'll make it specific to you guys. So that'd be wonderful. I'd be thrilled to do that.
Oh, that's so generous. Thank you so much. And so there's that compassion in that love that Kevin's giving us for doing that and for being here. And we're so appreciative. And part of what Andy and I always talk about is being in gratitude. That is manifesting. And so anyway, I think it's time to go, but we do have a show on Friday, and it's a live show. We're giving away cash now, like money. Do I have some? I should look, huh? Let's see.
It's an app port. Look at all those app ports.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Here we go. I got cash.
Yes.
App ports.
I gotta, so everybody has to manifest. Yes, you know what? I have to get into that. I totally want to get back to where we're seeing the phenomena and having the little gifts come. They do leave things for me. And I don't see them manifest, in front of my eyes, but I'll really, really want something, and I'll be in the middle of nowhere, and then I go down. Thank you so much. Here it is, and it's really neat. So you guys, thank you so much for watching, and we're going to go to the lobby. So Kevin, don't leave yet. And so everybody say bye.
Bye, viewers. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andy.
Bye, Holly.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much.